October 15th, 2018 was the worst and best day of my life. It was the best day of my life because my wife had given birth to a beautiful baby boy. It was the worst day of my life because my wife went into a self-induced coma, resulting from excessive blood loss. I took my new son home that day, and I left my sick wife at the hospital. I was filled with so much sadness, yet so much love at the same time. Every night I put my baby boy to sleep, and I was filled with absolute peace and joy. I had never seen a baby sleep as soundly as my son Sam did. Every night I wish I could hold my wife as we watched our son dream the night away. I wanted so badly to retain these wonderful images I had of Sam. I knew my wife would want them too. I knew I had to do something. My next door neighbor and his wife gave birth to a little girl named Cindy 2 years prior, and I remember them showing me a scrapbook filled with gorgeous sketches of animals, candies, toys, and all that sort. The sketches were created by a machine called the Dream Sketch. The Dream Sketch worked like a polygraph device, except it sketched whatever a person or child was dreaming at that given time. I knew, right there and then, I had found the answer to what I was looking for. So when I brought the machine home, it came complete with a moderate-sized sketching book and sketching machine that came with a stack of paper, ink, and two small wireless sensors that were to be placed left and right on the sides of the heads of the dreamer. Later that night, I cradled my young son to sleep, then put two small sensors on both sides of Sam's head and turned the machine on. The machine buzzed softly into the night. I stayed in Sam's room for nearly an hour before I went to bed, periodically watching the dream sketch and watching Sam sleep. I was excited as a kid before Christmas, waiting to see what my son would dream up of. When I awoke the next morning, I went to Sam's room to wake him up. Sam lay calmly in his crib as he stared up to me smiling. Just as I was about to go pick up Sam, I remembered the dream sketch. A single sheet of paper lay on the floor next to the dream sketch. As I picked up the sheet of paper, I could clearly see it was a drawing of my wife lying in her hospital bed, fast asleep. Strange that an image would be made from a newborn child, but there was something else odd about this drawing, something I couldn't quite figure out. It was then that I received the phone call. I didn't recall who gave me that news that day. It could have been a man or even a woman for all I know. But I do know for sure that the words spoken to me, "Your wife is dead." It was then I knew what was odd about the sketch in my hand. My wife's electrocardiogram was flatlined. With tears in my eyes and a lump in my throat, I lay there, Sam calmly on his back, still staring at me, still smiling. I returned the dream sketch to the store I bought it from and screamed at the employee who sold it to me. The employee did their best to explain to me that they have no control whether what the dream sketch draws. That, of course, is all up to the person that the dream sketch is hooked up to. The employee apologized profoundly for the inconvenience, but I was inconsolable at that point. I was in the complete daze from the shock of my dead wife and knowledge that her death was foretold. But who was it foretold was the real question at hand. Was it a mistake? Did the dream sketch have a malfunction? Was there no malfunction at all? All I know that my dead wife's death was foretold. Or there was only one way to know for sure, and the answer terrified me. I left the store with a new dream sketch and waited anxiously for night to fall. It was difficult for me to rock Sam to sleep that night. He kept staring and smiling that same smile of his. Eventually, he fell asleep and slept soundly while I frantically opened the box of the dream sketch and put all the necessary pieces in order. Once I connected the two small sensors to the right and left sides of Sam's head, I sat there in Sam's room, quietly in the dark. I listened to the quiet hum of the dream sketch and waited for the drawing needles to start sketching something. My heartbeat increased with every minute that the night consumed, and I still watched the drawing needles. Bags underneath my eyes started to form as the moon shifted its position in the sky. My heartbeat began to decrease as I desperately tried to stay awake, watching the drawing needles. The machine continued to hum throughout the night as I fell asleep in my rocking chair, rocking myself into a deep sleep. I woke with a sweat. I could feel Sam's eyes staring into my subconscious. I locked eyes with my son as he continued to smile that damn smile of his, and I was frowning my same damn frown. I looked down below onto the floor and noticed another single sheet of paper lying there. I wanted nothing more than to crumple up the paper and burn it and never know what was drawn on it, but I couldn't. I had to know what was on the paper. I had to know who foretold my wife's death. Reluctantly, I looked at the paper and held my breath as I looked at the gruesome sight that lay before me. On the single sheet of paper that had a drawing of a lunatic of a man carrying a bloody shotgun in one hand and a single sheet of paper in the other, two gory bodies lay on the floor below him. One of the bodies was a young woman in her mid-20s, and the other was a little girl, lying down dead next to a dream sketch. I recognized these people. I recognized the lunatic of a man. God help me. I knew who these people were. I looked outside toward my neighbor's house and saw fire trucks and cop cars and several ambulances. When I walked outside, I spoke with one of the police officers on my neighbor's lawn. He told me that my neighbor used his dream sketch on his wife, and when my neighbor awoke and saw the single sheet of paper that the dream sketch produced, it was of his wife having sex with another man in a room, and his daughter Cindy lay in a basket carried by a stork. The officer told me that my neighbor had gone insane and murdered his wife and daughter with a shotgun. After completing the heinous act, my neighbor put both barrels of the shotgun in his mouth and fired. It was clear to me then that my newborn son was a master of evil. But how? How could a baby know such terror? How could a baby foresee evil things to come? Could he in fact be an evil being? Or could he just see things come and go so happen to by the forces of evil? How could one see such evil, such terror, such brutality, and sleep so soundly at night? I knew what must be done. I knew then that Sam, my baby boy, had to die. I stamped up the stairs in a rage toward my child's bedroom, blood pumping through my veins like it never was before, as I was prepared to do the unthinkable. I swung open Sam's door so fiercely that I made a gaping hole when it slammed against the wall. I expected to hear Sam cry from the loud crash, but only silence was heard. When I approached the crib, Sam was fast asleep. He slept as calmly and sweetly as ever before, but I knew what he was. I knew that true evil that lurked behind those eyes, that stared into me so deeply, that mouth, that smile, that damn smile. I can admit to this point I had gone completely mad. I wanted Sam to wake up. I wanted him to see what I was about to do to him. I wanted him to show me that damn smile of his one last time as I choked the life from his little wretched body. I grabbed my son's throat and squeezed. I squeezed and squeezed until all the blood in my body had gone to my head. Blood pulsated throughout my veins as I squeezed. I was squeezing so hard that I hadn't breathed a single breath of air for nearly a minute, and I almost passed out. I collapsed to the floor. Afterwards, I killed my only son. I cried for a while. I pleaded to God, and I asked him if I did the right thing. It was then that I noticed a single sheet of paper next to the dream sketch. I picked up the single sheet of paper and held it to my face. It was a drawing of me strangling my baby son in his crib. I killed my son. I killed Sam. I never knew whether or not my Sam, my little boy, could see evil things to come, or if he made these evil things to come. But what I did, and I would, but what I did and what I did, and I would do it again. And I would do it again today. Confession made by Vincent Marshall regarding the murder of Samuel Marshall. Confession taken at Los Angeles County Police Department on December 21st, 2018 at approximately 5:55 p.m.